welcome to Get Your Bell Rung. I am KG, your host. With me tonight is an incredible guest, a man who's had a legendary wrestling career, a man who's wrestled for a lot of promotions. He's actually owned his own promotion. He's been a booker, Chief J Eagle. How are you, my friend?
Doing great, buddy. How's the world?
Oh, pretty good, man. I can't complain. Can't complain. Finally getting some rain out here in
Oh,
Minnesota.
yeah, we get a little bit here too. Where are you located?
Minnesota.
Okay, I'm in South Carolina.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, actually, my wife and I are looking at houses to possibly move to South Carolina next year.
Oh, great. I love it.
Yep. I'm originally a Southern boy, man. I was born and raised in Louisiana, so I'm ready to get back down to the South. My youngest will be 18 next year, so we'll be free at that point to move.
I tell you, I done a lot of wrestling in Kentucky this last year. That's a beautiful state up
Yeah,
there, man. That's wow. I mean, I just love riding through looking.
yeah. I have an aunt who lives in Calvert City, Kentucky, which is near Paducah. So every couple of years we make our way out there.
Okay, yeah, I went to Paducah for the Papos, so I know where that is.
Yep, beautiful country out that way. Let's get into your life. What kind of childhood did you have, and where were you raised at?
I was raised up around South Carolina here in three or four different towns. Basically, where I'm at now is in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and the land was handed down here from my grandparents. So that sort of kept me here. And then my mom and dad lived here, and my kids and my brother and my sister. So it was always home to me.
uh, did you grow up watching professional wrestling?
Well, no, I graduated high school in '72. I wasn't really into it, but my dad was in a hunting club, and he came home one day wanting me to meet somebody, and it was Wahoo McDaniel. He had met him in the hunting club in Lawrence, South Carolina, and just sitting around talking. And he asked me would I be interested in driving him and Sweet Hanson to some shows, and I said, yeah. Well, man, I'd hang on every word they said. I'd drive and wouldn't say nothing. And I never knew what a big fan I was of Wahoo's till I started hanging out with him. But then my dad passed away, and I started traveling with him, and I was gone from there. My biggest thing was I was wanting to get me a race car when I got out of high school, but I got tied up in wrestling, and I never looked back.
Right now, at the time that you were getting to know Wahoo McDaniel and a guy who ended up training you, did you realize at the time the how lucky you were to have a legend like Wahoo McDaniel training
Well,
you?
I didn't know at first. I knew I'd heard of Wahoo. I wasn't really into wrestling when I got out of high school, and but my dad talked high of him, and they said they was hunting buddies, but they was more drinking buddies than anything. And then I ended up driving for Wahoo and Sweet Hanson, like I say, and I guess it was probably three or four trips. I basically never had no real training. Wahoo throwed me in there, and that was it. Just what I picked up. And I had an uncle to tell me about a month ago that I owed my wrestling to him, and I said, "How is it that way?" He said, "Well, when you was growing up wrestling my sons and you got on top, I turned y'all back over." And I said, "Oh, I didn't know that." He said, "Yeah." He said, "But look what you got out of it." I said, "Well, that's true." And I've
Right.
loved it. I mean, both my sons wrestle. Well, Easy Money's my oldest son. He don't anymore, but Dusty Money still does. He calls himself the high flying hillbilly, and he gets over pretty good down here in the South Carolina and North Carolina, and he works for a lot of different groups, and I
Mhm.
do too. So, but we don't always work for the same groups.
Right.
He's in Chester tonight, and tomorrow I'm in Rome, Georgia, but I don't know where he's at tomorrow. But I don't think he's in Georgia. He's doing his own thing now, so that's good. I that was kind of a dream, to see my kids grow up
Right.
and team up with me, and then I've got to team up with both of them, and I'm real proud. Dustin, he's about 36, and Jeremy, he's about 38. So
Yeah. So, and while we're talking about Wahoo, I want to dispel a rumor. People always say that Ric Flair has the best chop. He had the best chop in the business, and I love Ric Flair. Don't get me wrong, but I've always said that Wahoo McDaniel was the man who had the best chop in the industry. Uh,
oh yeah, well, I had to fill that out myself to make sure that was true. So we did a gimmick in North Carolina where uh, me and him had a falling out, so I had to wrestle him, and the two cowboys was healed. They was behind me and cheering me on, and so I go out and challenge him, and the promoter sets up a return show, and I work Wahoo. But in the back, we talked about what would look good if the Cowboys was cheering me on, but I turned on them and went with Wahoo. So I did that at the end. So I couldn't, I got to wrestle him. I got to trade some chops with him, and uh, he had the chops. It's like hitting with a tree limb. It's just like something solid. And
right.
he even told me, he said, "Don't kill the guys. Cup your hand. You want noise out of it. What you want." And he was right. It didn't take me long to figure that out. But then a lot of guys, just because I'm the Indian gimmick, they want to trade chops with me. So, most of them don't know how. They just want to slap you, is what it is.
Right. Right. Now, one of the first promotions that you wrestled for was Georgia Championship Wrestling, and you wrestled as Denny Wolf. Did that for about 6 weeks, and then you left there. Was there something about GCW that just wasn't your cup of tea, and is that why you left?
Well, I liked it. I mean, I was fascinated. I was riding up with Ivan Koloff and Bobby Fulton and them guys, and I had been working out on the road for Bobby Fulton's son. But yeah, that's the biggest thing. I love being there. It was. I mean, I went twice and got paid and didn't even work because they had so many guys, but they gave me a check, so I didn't complain. And then one of the first things I remember about my trip to the superstation was me and Ivan Koloff was riding with Bobby Fulton and his brother, and there was a car come up beside us going down 85, and I'm sitting there looking out my back window at the car passing us, and it was an older lady and gentleman. Well, their car just went down across the median and hit another car head on, right in front of my eyes, man. I couldn't believe it. And we pulled over, and a bunch of guys run, looked in the car, and said they didn't make it. And I just couldn't look at them because I'd seen them before they had the wreck, and then when they had the wreck, they said they didn't make it. I didn't want to see them. So
Jeez.
I still think of that a lot as my first trip going to TBS.
Wow. Now, were you with Georgia Championship Wrestling at the same time Magnum TA was there?
No, I went through there. I basically didn't even use J Eagle. Wahoo told me to use another name. Well, Gordon Soley had called me Denny Wolf, and then when I went out to wrestle, he called me Denny Brown, so I just went with it. And then I actually worked as Jerry Eagle for about a year, and I went to work for Randy Savage and his daddy, and they changed me to J Eagle, and I got a little coverage in the magazine, so I never changed it back. I stuck with J Eagle, but originally it was just a letter J Eagle, and so they started putting JAY, and I went with it, and still doing it. This is if I make it to August, it'll be 51 years in the ring for me.
Wow, that's incredible. That
So
is absolutely
I'm
incredible.
seeing people now that I met 40 and 50 years ago, and they like, "Oh, Eagle, I thought you was dead." I said, "No, I stayed in one place for 40 years because I owned a promotion, and I was either way you look at it, as good a guys as you got, I'm the one I could depend on."
Right.
So I was
Right.
tied up in everything. First famous wrestler I met was Brute Bernard. got to know him real good, and then Jimmy Garvin and Johnny Weaver and Wahoo and Dan. I worked all of them just about at one time or another, but I never got to work Flair.
Right, right. Now, do you find yourself wrestling the kids of people that you wrestled back in the day?
Yeah, well, mainly guys training are guys that I met back in the day. The kids coming along, just like uh, what's his name, Eddie Golden, and then a
Mhm.
lot of guys that I knew their dads, and then I can recognize the person as being related to who they say they are the son of. But yeah, I'm just amazed how many come through a second time.
Right. So you went on. How long were you wrestling before you started being the promoter for Southern Championship Wrestling?
Well, I trained a little bit in '74, but I started wrestling in '75. So I never did count my training time, but I really started in '74. I was 25 years old when I really got started.
Right.
And I, I can't complain. I've loved it. I've seen all the states. Wahoo had me to get my passport to go to Japan, and that group got sold to another group. And Greg Valentine wanted me to go to Puerto Rico, and then I got the passport. He called and said, "Don't come." Somebody threw the liquor bottle and hit him in the head, and he had stitches in his head. He said, "You don't want to come over here." So yeah, I love him to death. Now that's one of my favorite people in the business is Greg Valentine. I always loved that slow, methodical style. But I was a Johnny Valentine fan also.
Right. Right.
He's the one that made the believer out of me watching Johnny Valentine. So
Yeah.
and,
So I want to go back to you working for Randy Savage's dad. Did you ever get into the ring with Randy Savage?
yeah, I'll shoot you a picture or two. I got some TV shots in the ring with him, but yeah, I got tied up with him. This other guy named Danny Doyle that trained from North Carolina here had went on up there, and he talked to him about me running the group and having some guys. So Randy called and asked me to come up, and I said, "Yeah." I said, "Actually, I got a guy I'd like to bring." He said, "Well, save it till next trip." So I did. It was one man gang, and when I
Oh,
carried him up, he never came back. He lived down he lived down the road from me, and actually, he was training at a little gym I went to, and turned out that I ended up and just hung out with him for years. But I carried him to. I told Randy about him being 6'8" and he could do a drop kick and he was bumping 500 pounds. And Randy said, "Bring him up here." Well, I did, and he never came back.
huh. So I'm interested in your matches with Randy Savage because I've heard so many wrestlers talk about how stiff Randy Savage worked. Is that the case? Was he someone stiff that you worked with?
No, not really, not with me. Our closest connection when I went up there was our age. We was the same age, so we hit it off. And I'll never forget one of the first questions he asked me is if I smoked weed, and that was kind of funny hearing that come from somebody you didn't know. But a lot of the guys up there did when I went, and you know, Rick Starr was with me and One Man Gang, and they didn't smoke, but Rick Starr lied. He said, "Oh yeah, I smoke," but it was just funny getting to know the guys. The first night I was there, Randy said, "I got you somewhere to stay." I thought, "Oh great, he's got me a room." What turned out to be his living room floor with shag carpet. He had me a pillar, and Miss Elizabeth would cook our breakfast in the mornings. And Randy smoked weed, but he didn't pass the joint like some people do. He would put a pan on the table just full of weed, and you smoked your own. I mean, I never, here I am sitting at the table with Ronnie Garvin, Pez Watley, Ernie Ladd, golly, uh, what's Randy's brother, Lanny. Lanny, I got
Lanny.
good friends with him. I got good friends with Buddy Landell, and that stayed tight till he died. And I met a lot of guys up there that I'd heard of and just had never run across them. But
Man,
Angelo he was he lived up to his name as far as being the miser. That's the cheapest man I ever seen. He,
I
he would he would get guys to have a pump and pick the hose all the way up and shake it to get every drop in the tank. And he was but I'm gonna tell you something else that was funny and stayed with me all these years. When I got there, I had already knew Pez Watley because I had worked him in Georgia. But Ernie Ladd come in to take a look at One Man Gang, and I followed them to the shows. And this is really funny. Uh, Pez drove a Volkswagen with a T-top in it. So when I'd follow them to shows, I could see a foot of Ernie Ladd's head sticking out the top. You couldn't see Pez because he was sitting down in the car. But I always remembered that vision of them going down the road in front of me. And I'm thinking, how many people don't have no idea that that's Ernie Ladd's head? But yeah, I really liked him too.
Yeah, and man, you just mentioned some names that I wish I was old enough to be in that same room at that same table with Randy Savage, Lanny Poffo, Pistol Paz Watley, Ernie Ladd. I mean, you talking about the who's who of
Yes.
wrestling, especially in that era. Now, did you? And maybe I overlooked it whenever I was doing my research on you. Did you ever wrestle for Mid South Wrestling at any point under Cowboy Bill Watts?
No, but I knew about them because, like I say, Gang went. That's where Gang went from the Poffos up there, and
And Ernie Ladd too. Ernie Ladd was actually one of the bookers.
yeah. Well, when I met him, he would come into ICW to look at Gang. I don't know who told him about him, but that's why he come. And you know, even to this day, Ernie Ladd's got my favorite promo of anybody in wrestling. I'm gonna tell you right now. He used to get on Wahoo being about that old drunk Indian, and he'd say, "I don't like to fight drunk Indians," and I'd laugh at him. He was a trip, man.
Oh man. So if I want to make sure I understand correctly, you're the one who really discovered then the one man gang, and you're the one that introduced him to the Randy Savage, which then he got a look by Ernie Ladd. Is that correct?
Yes. Well,
Oh,
I carried him to Kentucky and got him booked with Randy, and they changed his name to the Crusher or something. He worked down here as King Kong Gray, but anyway, uh, that was perfect for One Man Gang because a man his size, there wasn't much of anything else he could do to make money. So
right. Now, did at the time that because you say he worked out at the little gym that you worked out at the time that you met him, was professional wrestling on his radar at all, or are you the one that was like, man, you should get involved in professional wrestling?
no, when I went down, it was a gym run by a guy called Little Cowboy Joe Gilbert, and he had basically trained Gang because they lived close to each other. But uh, I don't know why I'd never been really officially trained by nobody, but I was a natural.
Right.
My grandparents had an old house, and they built a new house, and when they did, they left their beds in the old house. So we went in there and spread mattresses out and covered all the floors. So we had a house for a wrestling ring. But I could bump when I went down to the school because it's just something I picked up naturally. And then I guess I worked out about 3 or 4 times, and the promoter told me he was going to put me on the show that weekend. Well, I was excited. I was ready to go, but I fell on my motorcycle right before the show and didn't
Mm.
get to wrestle on my first one. So it took me another few weeks to get over the road rash, from showing my tail and busting my ass on the motorcycle.
Right. Now, I want to talk about a little bit of political correctness for a second because you said a word that I'm so curious about. But first, let me ask you now, you are legitimately a Native American. That wasn't just a gimmick. You are Native American, correct?
My daddy is. He's from Cherokee, North Carolina, but I've always been proud of it. But he
Right.
growed up in a low income family, and it just seemed like it never meant nothing to them to be on the reservation. They wanted off of it as soon as they got old enough. But yeah, I got it in my blood, and I got a little bit of Indian in my mother's blood too. But
Right. Right.
Dad's the
And
one that had the looks.
yeah. Now, the reason why I asked you is because you've used the word Indian, quite a few times. And in today's world, God forbid you say that word Indian, you get, people want to jump on you. Um, it, do you have an issue with other people, saying the word Indian? Is it one of those things that is okay for you to say it because you're Native American, but other people shouldn't say it? Like, where are you at with that?
Well, you would not believe the people that tell me, and I know they're not, that they're related to Wahoo or their dad is an Indian chief, or they people tell me that. I hear that more than anything. A lot of people, if they got any Indian blood, they want to talk about it. But uh, I never pursued getting any money from the
Right,
Cherokee people. I was just glad to. My mom didn't keep me up there. My dad did, but it wasn't. I never knew I was going to do a gimmick when I wrestled, but it was sort of. All my friends said, "Well, you need to do your dad's gimmick," and I did. And then I met Wahoo, and I was proud I did then.
yep. Now, your dad was a professional wrestler as well?
No, no, but now there was a guy named Black Eagle that got passed off as my dad. He was from New York or something, but he wasn't. He was kind of like Strongbow. He was a Puerto
Yeah,
Rican or something like that, but he pulled it off. In
yeah,
in Kentucky, he was what was his name? I can't remember his name. They gave him up there, but uh, anyway, he worked as Black Eagle, but I can't remember his
yeah.
name. He wasn't no kin to me, but we did the gimmick. But what happened was uh, T.O. bladed me on TV, and they carried me out, and they brought him in to, uh, you know, beat people up for me because I got beat up. I guess the best way to say that.
Right, right. Now, and forgive me that I'm kind of skipping around a lot. This conversation has already been amazing. I want to go way back to you getting hooked up with Wahoo McDaniels. Now, obviously, your dad was okay with you becoming a professional wrestler because he's the one that kind of introduced you. How did your mom feel about you getting into the business?
Well, the biggest problem I had out of my mom was using my brother for a guinea pig when I was learning. And that turned out and made my son and my little brother good because they was the guinea pig. If we wanted to try something out, we'd try it out on them. And I can't, it just made a natural from them because they could bump and they was young. And uh, my brother don't wrestle anymore, but my youngest son does. And so I had a brother, two sons, and oh God, you wouldn't believe the friends that turned up in wrestling because I did.
Right. Now, I don't know if you know the name Sonny King at all.
Who?
Sonny King?
Oh yeah, I know Sonny
Right.
King.
Yeah. So Sonny is from the little town in Louisiana that I'm from, and when he retired, he moved back there, and me and his son became very good friends. And Mr. Sonny, of course, I was the annoying kid, always asking questions, and Mr. Sonny would tell me stories about fans back then um, throwing bags of urine at the heels or batteries and stuff like that. When you were a heel, did you have to deal with any of that craziness?
Well, yeah, I've got a picture on my page I can send you. I was in Sumter, South Carolina, and I was teaming up with a Lumbee Indian. He was Red Thunder, and I had me and him had a falling out. So he was in the ring wrestling somebody, but he was carrying his crutches to the ring with him. So I go grab his crutch and start beating him with it. Well, then the police come got me and told me to go to the dressing room. I didn't know what was going on, but I seen after the show a man coming at me with his pocket knife open. But I never seen the guy. I just seen the picture. And from what they told me, the referee's son spotted him and got the police and they put him out. So
Wow.
I have got one picture where he's sitting there biting his fingernails. In the next picture, he's got the knife coming at me. So when I
Jeez.
seen it, it blew my mind.
Yeah. I mean, at least I tell you, you were getting over as a heel, though. That's for sure. When the fans hate you that much.
Well, that wasn't my first one. I had wrestled at a show down in South Carolina. Oh yeah, it was a fire show, and alcohol don't mix with wrestling real good. You get a bunch of drunks, they're gonna be one in the ring. Well, that's what happened. One guy come in the ring, but the thing about him, he was so drunk. I'd push him down, and he'd fall. And time he got up, I'd push him down again. So it didn't take long. The police snatched him up and carried him out. So but I knew I got a life out of it. But the promoter, he had a fit because he said that guy could have hurt you. I said,
Right.
lucky I seen him coming. So
Yeah. Now, have you ever had to get physical with a fan?
no, but I've been on shows that my friends have. I seen
Right.
Three Hills when I was running the business. A guy took his shirt and his shoes off and jumped in the ring, and the Three Hills that was in the ring beat the shit out of him before I could get him out. And then again, the police put him out, but I told them not to lock him up, just get him out. And
Right. Right.
so it was kind of funny. I
Yeah.
mean,
Now,
I've seen a lot of that because I wasn't there, but I remember when Ole Anderson got stabbed and cut and
yeah.
green. But yeah, that was I've seen two or three do that through the years, but it's gonna happen, especially a bar show or something.
Right. Right. Now, did you prefer being a baby face over a heel, or did you prefer being a heel over the baby face?
No, I prefer to be a heel because I'm an asshole. And the thing about it is what's hard is calling a woman fat and going to Walmart and running into her. I've done that many times. Or tell them I like a woman that move a refrigerator, or they got a face like the north end of a southbound dog, or I mean, I'm pissed them off. But most promoters want me to be baby because of my gimmick. It draws people.
Right, right. Now I want to go back to you being a promoter. Was Southern Championship Wrestling the first time you were a promoter?
Yes, but that was just a short name. I eventually went to American Championship Wrestling and stuck with that for, Lord, I think 30 something years. And I had four different buildings in South Carolina. I'd stay somewhere a while, and if the crowd started slacking off, I'd find me another building. I always liked that idea of leaving my ring setting up and going in and having the show every week and not having to worry about setting the ring up. So,
Right,
hey, any advertisement you promote on the place, you always there. You're not doing it on this building this week and then next week you're in another town. So that worked good for me to build a building and also have a wrestling school during the week.
right, right. Now you went on to South Atlantic Pro Wrestling in 1990, where you teamed with David Isley, and you guys had a match with the legendary Nasty Boys, Brian Knobs and Jerry Saggs. You
Yeah.
guys ended up defeating them. Man, tell me about working with the Nasty Boys.
Uh, what's your name? And what?
Was the names Brian Knobs and Jerry Saggs?
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay. I like working with Brian Knobs, but Jerry, I had on white trunks, and you remember their finish where they was off the top corner,
Mhm.
elbow. Man, I
Yeah.
crapped all in my white trunks when he dove off on my belly. That's something I've always remembered. That I said the crowd couldn't see it, but I knew it, and it just I was like everybody was looking at me, but then nobody could even see it. But it's just like wrestling George South. He run a lot of my white trunks when he used to bleed every match, and I told him I couldn't afford to keep buying gear if he's gonna bleed all over him. So, and
Right.
then he wrote in his book that he trained me, but he didn't. I trained him. I was wrestling 10 years before George South was. So,
And that was my next question because it is when you do the research about your training that Wahoo McDaniels trained you, but George South had some hand in training you as well. So that's not correct. George South didn't train
no,
you.
no, that's not correct. I
Okay.
got him booked. When I met him, I told promoters, I said, and George had a hell of a bump. You could punch him and he'd bounce off the mat. Well, I told promoters about him. I said, he said he don't want to get paid. He'd like to come in and show you what he could do. And they'd say, yeah, bring him. He'd go in and work the first match, and I swear they'd bring us back on the next show against each other because he done that good.
Right.
And he's just a natural killer bump man, but he's done got old now, so don't.
Right. Did you ever work with Bob Cook at all?
No, but I know Bob through other people. No, I wished I did. He was jobbing on Mid Atlantic before I got
Yeah.
in the business. Time
Right.
I come along, he was he done moved on and went somewhere else. But Lord, there's so many I met like that, like Tracy Smothers, and I met Bobby Fulton at a show in Kentucky before he ever got gear to wrestle. And
Right. Right.
uh, I can't remember the man's name up there, but it was a good experience for me. It was before the Popos.
Yeah. Now, Bob Cook, he's my co-host with me on Tuesday nights.
Oh,
Now, from what I hear, I want your opinion on this, but from what I hear, during Bob Cook's time, he had the best punch in the business. Now, I want you to tell me who you honestly believe had the best punch in the business during
I
that time
always
period.
like Paul Jones straightforward punches.
Paul
He,
Jones.
he would come in
Yep.
straight, and I always loved his punches. And
Yep. Paul.
I think punches. That's something I tell my trainees. If you can't throw a good punch, don't even throw one.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah. So, for I also seen through my research that every 3 years, you train 30 students to put on a wrestling show in a interim class called January SmackDown, and that you were awarded the title Doctor of Pro Wrestling by Woodford College. Talk to
Yeah.
me about that.
What about that? The college called me and said, we doing an intermediate class, and they wanted to know if I could train 30 guys and 2 girls. I said, yeah. He said, well, then we want you to put a show on at the college, and we'll pay you for it. I said, oh yeah, I like it. So they brought me them 32 people every week for I think like 6 8 weeks, and then we had the show at the college. The girls dipped out. She didn't wrestle, but the other did some kind of ballet gimmick. But it was fun getting that many guys at that age. Most of them were naturals,
Mhm.
and I did it 3 different times. So when I did it that third time, that made 100 guys I had trained from the college. So that's when they brought me in and give me the award that I was the doctor of pro wrestling. So I'm
That's
still
awesome.
proud of that.
That's awesome. Now, I want to talk about some injuries. You've had broken fingers, ribs, nose, a ruptured or Achilles tendon. Um, and you were out of wrestling for a period of time because of all of these injuries at some point or the other. You're 69 years old, right?
No, I'm 71 now.
You're 71. How does your body feel at 71 years old after suffering these injuries? And I'm sure there's some injuries that I didn't even name.
Well, they got on the internet that I'm retired, but I'm not retired. I still wrestle
Right.
twice a week, every week. I'm going to Rome, Georgia tomorrow, and My worst one, a real bad one, was the Achilles tendon. First thing Wahoo told me, that's why Joe Namath got out of football, broke his Achilles tendon. He said, Eagle, I hate to tell you, but you done. But I took 8 weeks off, and I wasn't long. I was back in there. I just had to baby it, And then,
Right.
yeah, I broke fingers. I broke ankle. I got a new knee when I was 69 on my left knee, but luckily my right one still works. But I've been blessed. I mean, uh, I remember teaming up with Joey Lovingood, and he wanted me to stand on his shoulders and do a flying body press off on one of the hills. And when I did, my ankle turned over. When I hit the
Oh,
mat, oh, that was bad, boy. My whole foot turned blue.
yeah. Oh,
But yeah, I've been lucky. I've had a bunch of bumps and bruises and can't turn my head now, but it's that's the nature of the beast. It's always something.
right. Now, do you have um a favorite promotion that you've worked for?
Yeah, I work out of Augusta, Georgia for Mike Ellison. He's got a good crew. He's got his Georgia boys, and he brings 2 or 3 South Carolina boys in just to top off his shows to give them something different. But and then my son works for NAWA. I think that's North American Wrestling Association,
Yep.
and the boys are good. This guy, his name's Mike Ellison. No, Elliott. Yeah, Mike Elliott. He's not that good a worker, but what he does is he teams up with his best guys to kind of hide that, lack of ability he's got. Between you and me, he's the worst worker on the whole show.
Oh, yeah. So back in your time, whenever you had the WWF, the WCW, is there a reason why you never ventured off on one of those two big promotions? Because surely you were good enough. I mean, I remember watching you wrestle whenever I was a kid. You were just as good, if not better, than a lot of those guys that were on these shows. Why didn't you ever go try to go to these guys?
I never tried. It was mostly family. I had a wife at the time with just she made the marriage. She hated wrestling because she didn't like the attention it got. So it made a hard marriage for me. But I had 5 kids too, and they needed me at home. And I would go work for the Pavos for 2 or 3 weeks, and I'd come home for 2 or 3 weeks. I never wanted to be away from the family,
Right,
And as I got older, it got better because the kids growed up and my boys wrestled. But I don't regret it from day one. I wouldn't give it for nothing. I've seen all the United States and some of the best friends in the world in wrestling, like Wahoo and Savage and some of them boys, and even a lot of guys that's around now that I've done a lot of traveling with. I mean, we just lost 2 wrestlers last week. One guy, Chris Thunder, and the other Johnny V. Both of them passed away. They both in their 50s and both good workers and big boys. And one died one day, and a couple of days later, the other had like a couple of strokes, and he passed away.
mm,
So I'm just right now. I am so amazed at the guys that's younger than me that's done gone.
right,
I mean,
right,
I sat here early thinking. I mean, I was going to put down on the internet the other day how many guys that's gone that I'd worked with. Then I got to thinking, they too many.
right,
I mean, people that made me want to do it's gone.
right,
I
right.
almost quit when Wahoo died, but
Yeah.
it's hard to walk away. And then I had a guy, Cherokee Indian, Johnny Eagle. He teamed up with me for 20 years, 55 years old, laid on his couch on Sunday to take a nap and didn't wake up. And that,
Mm,
that hurt too, because 20 years we done everything together. We was the Eagle Brothers, and I was proud of, have him as a partner.
right, right. Why is it? I mean, do you believe that it's because of a lot of concussions that went undiagnosed that led to a lot of
Well, it's funny you said that because at this age, I got sent to two or three head X-rays or TT scans or whatever you call that because I bumped my head a lot, and I think it's all because of Benoit. They wanted to X-ray my head, and they didn't find nothing wrong. Made sure I didn't have no early Alzheimer's or nothing. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of injuries, but I never let them stop. And I see a lot of guys that say, "Well, I'm through," but if they really got it in their blood, they ain't
Right.
through.
Right. How does your body? You're 71 years old now. You're still in the business. How does your body feel on a regular
Well,
basis?
I can still run and jump, and I can do a drop kick or just about
Wow.
anything. And I can tell I ain't no kid no more. And
Right.
you know, I'm good for a real long match. Wears me down, but now if I ain't in there too long, I can still do about anything I want to do. And
Yeah.
just doing the Indian gimmick, automatically the crowd wants to see the chops and then everybody's hollering, hey, 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 and it's just part of it. Keeps me going.
Yep. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about what's happening in professional wrestling today. WWE, they're about to come out with a reality show on Netflix showing the fans how the creative works behind the scene. And basically, you have these larger promotions that are opening up the curtain and exposing the business. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like go ahead?
I'm from the old school. I mean, we kayfabe the business big time, and even when the internet come out, and I still kind of stay away from it, and I don't tell no lies or nothing. But I was always like Ole Anderson said, if you make the people believe it, you ain't got to kill yourself. And Wahoo used to fuss at me for jumping off the top rope. He said, "You're gonna get hurt." But I'm lucky I never did that way. But yeah, I don't. It'll never be the same. I'm glad I come along when the business was good.
Right,
'Cause last few years, and there's so many things like coming out on the internet now that I seen somebody posted yesterday. If you got a feud with somebody, quit posting pictures with them.
right,
Made sense to me, you know.
right.
So
Absolutely, absolutely. Go ahead.
I'm not picky about who I wrestle, but I like a heel that's a good heel and not a clown. You know,
Right.
so I I trained the truth, Run Killings. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Oh, I did not know that. You trained
Yeah,
Ryan
the
Killings.
truth come to wrestling, and he said, "Chief," he said, "I done got in a little trouble with the law." He said, "The judge told me to find a hobby, or he's gonna put me in jail. Can you help me?" I said, "Yeah, I can help you." Oh man, he was a natural. I mean, he danced to the ring and danced in the ring and cut flips and somersaults and the truth amazed me, man. He could sing any country song they was. He knew every word to it. And, I was glad he done good. And the Hardy Boys come to me too. They didn't work for me, but we worked together for years. Uh, I've got over 1,000 matches on YouTube, and I got a match with both of them on YouTube if you ever want
Yeah,
to.
absolutely.
You can look it up under Jerry Bragg, my real name, or Chief J Eagle or J Eagle. I got stuff on everything.
Right,
And
right.
I did get a call one time to go to South Boston, Virginia, and take uh, Strongbow's place, and they still announced me as Strongbow when I went out to wrestle. I said, "Oh no!" And then Jimmy Snooker had took my tennis shoes and tied the knots, about 100 knots, and it took me an hour to get my shoes untied so I could go home. But it was all in fun. I'll never forget in Atlanta, Georgia, going to the ring to wrestle and come back in the dressing room, and Andre had my headdress sitting on top of his hair. It wouldn't go on his head, but he had it on the hair, and I just laughed. What could I do? You know,
Who was
the first famous wrestler I knew was Brute Bernard, and I
right?
loved him to the end to death. Called him one day. His wife was a worker too, and I said, Betty, let me talk to Brute. She said, Jay, I hate to tell you, but he was playing with a pistol with one bullet in it, and he shot himself. He died.
Oh,
I said, "Oh no, yeah, that's something broke my heart, man, because he was the first big name wrestler that I knew. That first time I worked him, he beat the shit out of me, and then the second time, he made me look like a superstar. I couldn't believe. And
right.
I worked Bob Orton one time. When I locked up with him, he brushed my nose with his arm. My nose was bleeding everywhere, and all during the match, he's telling me, "Looks good, kid. Looks good." Then I got in the dressing room and Pez Watley said, "You don't know it. You just got initiated." I said, "Yeah, I didn't know it. I thought I done good." But
Who
yeah,
was
that was true.
who was the best ribber
Huh?
during your who was the best ribber during the early years of professional wrestling that
Well,
you were
man, I never worked with nobody like Brett's brother that was supposed to be the big ribber. But the ones I knew that was big ribbers was people like Ivan Koloff or a guy named Boomer Payne.
mm,
He's one of them guys that would super glue my suitcase together when I was in the ring or my shoes to the floor. So eventually, he had a metal suitcase, thought he had to jump on me. I brought my drill to work one or to show one night. While he was in the ring, I drilled holes in his suitcase and put water in it. And then I think we went to eat, and he had took the lid off the salt, and I went to get some salt and poured it all on my plate. So, ribbers.
right, right.
That glue your shoes to the floor used to be a big thing when I was young.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have anyone that you absolutely would love to face before you officially retire?
Two people I wanted to work. One was let's think his name. Brad Anderson. No, what's his name? Armstrong.
Uh,
Brad Armstrong. I always wanted to work him and Lawyer's Kid. I'd like to work him.
right.
And as far as workers today, nah, I don't know. Man, I'm old school.
Right.
I mean, I see people like oh shit. Anyway, some of the workers that's on there now that they putting over, and then some of them I wonder why they put them over.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I
Seth
agree.
Rollins, I'd like to work Seth. You know,
Oh, Seth Rollins. Yeah,
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 yeah, somebody like that. But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Now, have you ever thought about um giving up wrestling and maybe becoming a badger, maybe badging your son?
well, yeah. At this age, I've got a girlfriend that wants me to quit already, but I don't know if I'm ready for that or not. But I'm not ready to. I may come out of the ring first, but that's what keeps me going. I don't.
Right,
I'm not crazy about promoting or training. I just always love participating
right,
in
right,
the show, and I'm a little picky too. I've worked for some workers. I think, well, if I get out of here, I won't be back because I mean, there's some nuts out there.
right, right.
I drove up to a show in Hickory, North Carolina, and I seen he had his champions with their belts on out parking cars, and I thought, oh no, this is a nut. Sure did. I said, man, don't put these workers out there. It makes them look bad.
Right, right. Final question. What is the legacy that you want to leave in professional wrestling?
Well, I think I've already got a pretty good one for giving anybody a change. I mean, I've had guys say, why you use so and so, but I think there's a place for everybody. If you give me a chance, they might not be a wrestler, but they might be cleanup crew or something. I don't know. If they want to work, I'll find them something to do, especially if you're a good announcer or you clean cut and look like you'd be part of the show. I'm all for it because I think like I say, I think it's a place for everybody.
Right, right. Well, I tell you what, Chief J Ego, this was I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed this interview. You were absolutely a pleasure to have on. I could probably sit for another couple of hours talking to you and listening to some of your stories. Is there anything that you would like to promote? Um,
Well, like I say, one of my biggest promoters right now is in Augusta, Georgia. He runs at the fairgrounds every other week, and I make that trip pretty often. And not really, just keep supporting us. We need it. I mean, I can't imagine not doing it. I've never, it's something I've never done in my 50 years that said I quit. I mean, if I'm hurt, I can't. First question to the doctor when I can get back in there. So
right.
just a part of me. And, it ain't a married man's business. I found that out. But,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like talking about women. They plenty of them out there, but they ain't no keepers. And my daddy did tell me years ago that all demons don't have horns. A lot of them's got boobies.
I cannot argue with that, sir. Thank you.
Amen, buddy.
Thank you so much for coming on our podcast, man. You are always welcome to come back. If you ever want to come on to promote something or just to shoot the shit, man, let me know. We'll put it on the calendar. You're absolutely a joy to speak to. So thank you
Thank
so
you,
very much.
sir. Loved you having me. Thank you.
Thank you. You all have a great weekend.
Hope to meet you one day.
Hopefully so. That'll be awesome. Good
Okay,
night.
good.